Thank you. So, yeah, last time I had a presentation about my culture, like to explain a little bit about how it's working in Congo, like back in Africa. So I'll have to share a presentation. It was more about a reflection on African culture identity, like trying to understand the meaning of landscape, environment, territory. Like the population is called Bantu because we have different ethnic groups in Africa. So the case study is in DRC, in DR Congo. So first of all, I have to explain like where everything started. Like DR Congo Africa had the influence of European colonization, and it's where the countries come from. So every country has like something from their colonial, from the European country which occupied it. Like for instance, Congo was occupied by Belgium, and then we got some of their culture inserted in our culture. But before then, there were different states, the states in Africa, which were formed before the European came in Africa. Now, I'm going to focus on this part, the Bantu states, which is the civilization here is different from the other part and from this one. Like the Western Africa, it has its own way of civilization. Even Ethiopia, which had also a very ancient civilization, it has also developed different way. So here in the Central Africa, it's where we have Congo nowadays, and we had different states before the European came. And as I explained last time, my father, for instance, come from this part, is Ekuba. My mother come from a small state around here, it's called Shi. And then the problem was like during the conference of Berlin, when they partitioned Africa, different states were put together in one country without having similarities. So what is it about African, the way we live in Africa? We need like a king is like a father, like a god, and is the source of all zestful life living. So he's the one who maintains the relationship in all the country, all the states. But with the Western influence, we see like here people start having different clothing. Even the slave trade also affected really the African continent. But what matters about the community is the social gathering, but also the art. They started thinking about the art, and this was replicated in the building, like designing the wall, trying to make it a little bit beautiful. And the art, as I said, is the different way to see life and to communicate with others. So in the Bantu philosophy, actually for us, we focus only on the human being, like it's called a vital force. Like the human being is the center of everything. So everything we do is like to reinforce that force in us. So, but before we had also the idea of like dealing with other forces, because it's not only the human which occupies the earth, there are also animals, vegetable, there are material or mineral forces. So one force that is greater than the other can paralyze it. So we have to really take care of how we deal with all the different forces around us. So I came across this. This is from the Kuba Kingdom, the way they were living, like in a community, they were doing like a circle like this and try to have a meeting. And you can see like there's a hierarchy, like the king is here, is not in the middle, and there are people who are not supposed to be in this circle. here there are some women with some animals like doing other stuff. So it brings the hierarchy, and it shows like how people were like thinking about the nature and how decisions were taken. Like if you have something to say, you have to come around here and everyone sees what you are saying. So this is like a painting about Congo Kingdom. It was an ancient kingdom before it had influence of Portuguese. And this is a planned city when it was influenced by the Portuguese, because the Portuguese came into in the central part of Africa, and then the kingdom of Portugal and the one of Congo, they tried to have some exchange of culture, of way of designing building. And you can see like the idea of gated community started already, and some public spaces, and people who were not in the city could come, but in the city it was well defined, the street and everything. So what is it about the community? In Africa, we really think about like living together, and the community makes like the energy, like people who are together can make their force being like increase. So this shows like how the communities really have a big meaning in Africa. How this was translated into architecture, you see like the same way the people were meeting, like it's the same way their villages were formed. Like the father could have like his own house here, and all his sons could build around and make the boundary. So this public space around in the middle could be a place of gathering, and it could have like, I mean, each family can have like one entity like this, and then many of them can form like a big village. So in the Bantu philosophy, the human being is a force. The environment is also a force, because we have to deal with the environment. If we cut all the trees, we'll have the impact of drought. And for us, landscape doesn't really have a meaning. Landscape is like an interaction of the human with the environment. So for us, we're not designing really the landscape, but we're interacting with the environment, like keeping what is beautiful in the nature and try to make ourselves like strong enough so that the nature doesn't kill us. But the territory has the meaning because it's the power. The more territory you have, the more power you have. And there's also a concept of negative and positive space. Like we have to know like this is like the positive space inside is defined by this negative space, which is the limit between the positive and what is happening beyond the boundary. So we have also fragmentation. We don't really like to have like massive building unless it's a monument or it represents something really strong for the culture. But we need like fragmentation, like to have like that idea of like many people come together. There's also the difference between hard and soft boundaries. So we have also this idea of boulevard. It was also in our culture to have like a way leading to the chief house. So about the topography and landform, you can see like we have this big forest here, the tropical forest. And in Congo here, there's the biggest one. It has the largest one because we have the river Congo here, and we have all those lakes. But also the Sahara Desert is like it was said like before it wasn't a desert, but now it become like a boundary, which didn't allow our civilization to go beyond the Sahara Desert. So this is the river Congo and the big forest. Actually, there are no people living in the forest. It's just like a big forest and swamps. And this is my favorite animal, like the gorilla. It also in the fragmentation. I can show this. Like this is how the villages were. Like you see that soft boundary, like the buildings, the different huts, and then after that the forest is there, and then here there's this public space which was formed here. And you can see also some buildings, the big building for halls for.
Che bello questo.
Yeah, there's some meeting which could happen inside. And I really like this one because I like the material they use. This is the material they use, and it really helped cool down the building. And inside it was really, really nice, like to have a meeting with different chiefs, and they could make a decision inside. Thank you very much.
Beautiful.
Very nice.
Thank you.
I